Sup nerds, here's my yellow hybrid deck profile. Alright, starting off with our Tamer, we have 4 BT14 Koromon. Your turn once per turn. When a card is removed from your opponent's security stack, draw 1. We are playing this because it's a little bit of draw power on top of giving us access to red options. And then for our rookies, we are playing 4 Gatsumon from BT14. All turns, players can't play Digimon by effects. This is currently the best floodgate in the game, or floodgate type. We have, I believe, 3 different colors have access to this effect. Most of the unfair decks play things by effects. Nothing in our deck plays things by effects. So this is obviously only going to impact our opponent, and it's the best floodgate rookie to just sit on the field with our Tamer while we poke at our opponent's security with our other stuff and get free draws. And that is it, just 4 of those rookies. On to our level 4s. We are playing 4 Kazimon from BT7, obviously. Evos on top of your yellow Tamers for 2 memory. No other effect, it's basically a vanilla. And then we are also playing 4 Zephyrmon from BT7. It can evo on top of level 4s for 1, but can also evo on top of a Tamer for 2 memory. And then when evolving, if a card with hybrid in its traits or Zoe is in this Digimon's Evolution cards, all of your security Digimon get plus 3000 DP until the end of your opponent's turn. That can come up and impact things against decks that don't have access to jamming. So that is something to keep in mind. And that is it, just 8 of our champions. On to our level 5s. We are of course running the one of Jet from BT7. Evos on top of a level 4 with a Tamer in its sources for 1 memory. It's reduced by 2. And then when Digivolving, if a card with hybrid in its traits is in this Digimon's Evolution cards, trigger recover plus 1. Honestly, I think this card should go back to 4. The game has gotten so out of hand. I don't think this card ever needed to be limited in the first place. But it absolutely should probably go back to 4 at this point. And then we are playing 1 Shikuamon, which is basically an extra copy of the other level 5 we're playing. Evil's on top of our level 4s for 4 memory, which does kind of suck. And then when Digivolving, if you have 5 or fewer security cards, recover plus 1. There's an additional effect if you're DNA Digivolving, but we cannot do that in this deck, so there's no reason for me to read that to you. And then the inheritable is when attacking, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP for the turn, which is pretty cool. And then our other level 5, we are running 4 Magna Angemon Ace from BT14. This is of course a Blast Evo because it's an Ace. And then on play / when Digivolving, if you have 5 or fewer security cards, recover plus 1. Then one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 1000 DP for each card in your security stack. Does have Ace Overflow minus 3, which does kind of suck, but all the other effects are definitely well worth it. You can just hard play this guy for 4 memory and recover most of the time, and that's already insane by itself. And of course you can Blast Evo when your opponent swings. You're most likely going to have a level 4 hybrid just chilling on the field, so you're always able to threaten this. And that is it. We are just running 6 level 5s. And then on to our megas. We are running 4 Shadow Seraphimon. Evos on top of all of our level 5s for 4 memory. Opponent's turn, when a card is removed from your security stack, de-evo one of your opponent's Digimon by 1. That is not once per turn. He's kind of an insane floodgate just to have standing against your opponent that's swinging at your security. Because if they don't out him, he's just going to de-evo their dudes as they're attacking at your security. And then on deletion, recover plus 1. Then one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 4000 DP for the turn for each card in your security stack. Most of the time, this is going to out pretty much anything in the game, especially if you have like 4 or 5 security, like it's going to blow up anything. So he's basically a floodgate that also, like, once you remove him, he also pops something else. The only ways to really out him are de-evo and bouncing and whatnot. But just like deletion and stuff like that, like if they don't have access to removal, they're going to have a hard time versus this if they evo. And that is it, just 4 megas. And then on to our Tamers, which we're running quite a few of if you didn't guess. We are running 2 Zoe. Security plays it without paying the cost, obviously. On play, you can search your security stack for a hybrid or 10 warriors, and then add it to your hand, then recover plus 1, then you shuffle your security stack. This is literally just in here so we can basically get an idea of our security, the games we do see this card, and also just to pull out any hybrids that happen to find their way into our security, which typically this is going to be live whenever you see it. And then the inheritable is opponent's turn, all of your security Digimon get plus 3000 DP. So also just a cool effect that can come up versus decks that don't have access to jamming, like I said. I'm not maxing out on this because this does not gain us memory or anything like that. So if this is one of the only Tamers you see, it kind of does suck. I ran into that issue when I was playing 4 of this card, where I would open with this, and then my opponent would just consistently choke me to 1, and then I couldn't do anything. So I ended up cutting this down to 2, which I think feels good. And then we are running 4 Kari Kamiya from BT8. This is our memory setter. And then your turn, when a card is added to your security stack, you may suspend this Tamer to gain 1 memory. This is only on your turn. I think if this had been printed more recently, it would have been an all turns effect, but unfortunately it is only on your turn. What is cool though is you can hard play Magna Angemon Ace after being set to 3 by her, recover, and then tap her to maintain turn, and then you can Evo into Shadow Seraphimon. So you can just go into a Shadow Seraphi just with her, Magna Ace, and a Shadow, which is pretty cool to be able to poop out a Shadow Seraphi like that. And she's obviously really good with all of our recovery Evos as well. She makes those 1 memory fewer. She's basically the one you want to open with the most, I would say. And then we are running 4 TK and Kari from BT6. 4 cost Tamer. Start of your turn, if you have fewer security cards than your opponent, gain 2 memory. And then your turn, when one of your yellow Digimon attacks, you may suspend this Tamer to have one of your opponent's Digimon get minus 1000 DP for the turn. So this can let you like swing over stuff or just pop rookies and things like that. This is really important because if you do open slow in this deck, you can be put on the back foot pretty quickly. And this is basically an insurance policy versus that, because you're going to be handed a bunch of extra memory if your opponent aggroes your security and they pop one of these out, or if you just happen to play one after they poked you once. And then we are running 3 Tai and Kari from BT9. Start of your turn, if you have 3 or fewer security cards, gain 1 memory. If your opponent has 3 or fewer security cards, gain 1 memory. And then your turn, one of your red or yellow Digimon attacks, you may suspend this Tamer to have all of your opponent's security Digimon get minus 2000 DP for the turn. So it's cool for like buffing up your guys when they're poking at security effectively, because it effectively makes them 2k bigger for each one. I'm only playing 3 of these because it's only good like mid to late game. It's not good like early. Like TK and Kari, if they poke you once, that's giving you 2 memory for the rest of the game until you decide to turn it off yourself, basically. But these are only good once you've started poking at your opponent's security and they poked at you a little bit. So it didn't feel right to max this out. But this is good late game. Once you do get ahead of your opponent, you'll want to use TK and Kari's to Evo into your hybrids, and then you'll want to preserve your Tai and Kari's because they'll give you 2 memory every turn from that point forward. And that is it for our Tamers. We are running 13. And onto our options, which, as I'm sure you've guessed it, there are a lot. We are running 1 Plasma Stake. This is a very old card from BT3. It's a 4 cost option. Main, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 13,000 DP or more. That's actually an insane effect for 4 cost. Back then, it was pretty rare for someone to have a 13,000 DP Digimon. It basically meant they had a level 7 on the field. I don't recall a single Digimon that just statically had more than 12,000 DP that wasn't a level 7 back then. Unfortunately, this can be dead though. If your opponent checks this out of security and they have basically just small stuff on the field, it does literally nothing. So that's why I'm only playing 1. It's just really good to just have in your hand, and your opponent has a boss monster that you need to deal with, and you can play this without passing turn, which is pretty cool. If we ever get to a point where basically anything meta is playing Digimon that are always going to be bigger than this, or at this threshold, you'll definitely see a resurgence of this card. I feel like a lot of people don't even know this card exists because it's so old and doesn't see play. But yeah, I would imagine this is going to start seeing play at some point in the future of Digimon. And then we are playing the one of Sunrise Buster, 5 cost. Main, you may play 1 yellow or red Tamer from your hand without paying the cost. Then one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3,000 DP for the turn for each yellow and or red Tamer you have in play. Securities activate the main effect. This was limited because of Yellow Hybrid in BT10 in Japan, actually, because it's kind of insane just to be able to play 4 of these. And they were also playing like Sakuyamon Maid Mode, which got to play this for free and then recover it on your security. And when your opponent checked it, you got to play another Tamer. So yeah, this card is kind of insane because it can play any Tamer basically that's red or yellow, obviously. So I can see why it was limited, but it's a very strong card. So obviously we would want to play it. And then we are running 3 Crimson Blaze from BT8, 6 cost option. You do reduce the memory cost of this card in your hand by 1 for each Digimon your opponent has in play, which is something to keep in mind. And then the effect is, this was actually errated, so the effect is, main, your opponent can't play Digimon by effects until the end of their turn, and then delete all of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less. Securities activate the main effect. This is really good. This is basically another Gatsumon that we can activate from our hand, or our opponent can check out of security. It's one of the best effects right now because there's so many unfair decks playing things by effects. This is really good for like Fortitude decks, really good for Anubis, obviously, really good for Leviamon Turbo, all that super unfair stuff. This card answers it. And then we are running 2 Happy Bullet Showering, 7 cost option from BT6. Main, delete all of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP. Securities activate the main effect. So this is really good if your opponent has a lot of the same DP on the field, obviously, because this deletes all of them. So this can just wipe out your opponent's entire board if they happen to make the mistake of having everything be the same DP. We are only running 2 though, because obviously this can potentially just hit a rookie, which obviously will suck. So you don't want to have this like clog your hand or be like overly checked out of security and stuff. And then we are running, I would say, still one of the best removal options in the game. One of the OG removal options. We're running 4 Gaia Force from starter deck 1. 8 cost red option. Main, delete one of your opponent's Digimon. Security activate the main effect. Super simple card. Just delete something. Hey, delete that. Obviously, there are things that do have deletion protection, but this is the best generic removal we have access to since we're using a red base. So we're just maxing this out. We want our opponent to check stuff like this in our security. We want to have one in our hand when our opponent has something threatening on the field. Best thing you could play. And then we are also running 4 Trident Gaia from EX4. Some people may consider this a power creeped Gaia Force, but I'll explain why that's incorrect. So it's an 8 cost option. Main, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the highest DP. If a Digimon with 13,000 DP or more is deleted by this effect, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. Securities activate the main effect. So this effect is insane if your opponent only has one thing on the field and it's 13,000 DP or more. Obviously, Trident Gaia is better than Gaia Force. But the difference is, Trident Gaia does not let you target the Digimon. It has to delete the highest DP. If it's a tie, you just delete one of them, but it has to delete the highest DP. You can't just be like, pop that guy because he's really bothering me. So like, let's say your opponent's swinging out and they're trying to kill you. If they swing with their big stuff first and you check a Trident Gaia, it's not going to protect you from the little guys swinging out for game. You know what will protect you? Gaia Force. Gaia Force is better than this card just because in security, you can get lethaled if they check Trident Gaia and swing in the correct order to play around it, whereas Gaia Force will stop that. Doesn't matter what order they swing, there's no way to play around this card. And that is it. We are running 15 options. But that is it for the list. I will be posting gameplay in the not too distant future, and once those videos go live, they will be in the pinned comment below. But if you guys have any questions or anything I didn't address, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer anything. But I appreciate you guys stopping by. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy seeing this kind of content and want to come back for more. But until next time, see ya.